Okay, guys, it's time to put it all together. So we've been talking about solving by square roots. We talked about what it means when we have an I involved and what I is useful for, what that whole imaginary number is used for. So you're going to need some notes, couple examples, 3 examples, and that's it, and then we should be good to go. So now this whole idea of having I is useful to us. X squared equals negative 36. So what we need to do now is try to find out what x is. We need to solve. So if we were going to get rid of the squared, we'd go ahead and square root both sides. X equals, we know we're going to have plus or minus because we need 2 solutions and not just one. And now remembering what we know about I, the square root of negative 36 is the same thing as the square root of negative 1 times the square root of a 36. The square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 36 is 6. So my final answer is plus or minus 6i. Let's take a look at another example. X squared plus 18 equals negative 72. So we'll go ahead and subtract 18. So x squared equals negative 90. And now when we go ahead to square root, I know there's going to be an I because I can see it's a negative underneath that radical sign. So plus or minus. The square root of 90 is the same thing as the square root of negative 1 times square root of 90. However, the 90 here we can break apart some more. That's the square root of 9 times the square root of 10. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 10 is just the square root of 10. And don't forget about our little negative 1 guy. He's the I. So when we take a look at our final example, or our final answer, it's going to be 3i square root of 10 plus or minus 3i square root of 10. And a third example, taking a look at this guy again, we know we need to get the x by himself. I can see I have an x plus 9. The whole quantity is squared. So before I can get in to subtract the 9, I need to square root. So when I do that, I'm going to have x plus 9. The square root of 4 is the same thing as the square root of negative 1. 4. Okay, that's our negative 4. So the square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 4 is 2. So we're going to have 2i plus or minus 2i. A lot of people think the plus or minus comes at the end, but it comes when you've taken the square root. We took the square root early in this one, so the plus or minus comes rather early. So now still working to get my x by himself. I'm going to subtract 9. X equals, now see my 2i here is imaginary, and I have a minus 9 or subtract 9 here, a negative 9, that's a real number. So I'm going to go ahead and place him in front. Negative 9 plus or minus 2i. This is my final answer. A real number part plus an imaginary number part. These are 2 complex numbers. Okay, there's my third example on how to go ahead and use I when we solve. We'll be taking a closer look at that in days to come.